Supply chain attacks aren't just an enterprise problem. Every time you pull an ISO, an LXC template, or a helper script into Proxmox without checking it, you're making the exact same trust assumptions that a compromised build pipeline exploits. There's a mechanism standing between a legitimate ISO and a compromised one. And most of us skip checking it because it's our home lab and we trust the source. I mean, I'm SecOps by trade. I literally check integrity for a living, and I catch myself skipping this. My name is Grant, I'm a SOC analyst, and today we're going to fix our home lab supply chain properly, using the same tools as production pipelines, but with zero enterprise cost. So let's get into it. First up, let's define the problem, because supply chain attack definitely sounds more like a Fortune 500 problem, except it's not. It's a you and it's a me problem the minute we download something to run on our hypervisor. Here's what that chain looks like in a home lab. You've got open source ISOs, you've got helper scripts curled straight from GitHub, and LXC templates from mirrors you just trust. Compare that to how an enterprise pipeline handles it. You have tools like this, such as SALSA provenance, which is SALSA stands for supply chain levels for software artifacts. And then you've got something like cosign, where you would sign containers and other artifacts. And these are mechanisms to help prove who built it and that it wasn't modified in transit. So it's all about making sure the integrity of any upstream assets is kept. The really cool part for us is that the gap in the workflow isn't just restricted with cost. In Proxmox, we've already got the tools to perform these kind of checks. We just don't use it enough. And before you think, sure, they're enterprise, they have all this gating, they'll be fine. They're not always fine. This exact attack class has landed in dependency trees a number of times already. A maintainer's account gets compromised, or a package gets handed off to a new maintainer, and a malicious version gets published under a name trusted and set to auto-update. I mean, nobody re-audits a dependency they've pulled 50 times. That's not laziness. That's kind of how dependency trees work at scale. You know, you get one compromised package, 2 or 3 layers deep, and then it's running in every project that depends on it. No exploit required, just trust propagating down the stream. So that's the exact same mechanism as our ISO. Yes, it's a different ecosystem, but it's an identical failure mode. We skip verification because we trust the source. And so here's an example. If I switch to that and then we go here, this was the Axios NPM compromise that happened earlier this year, actually. And as you can see, it was Axios. I'll just read this. Axios is the most popular JavaScript HTTP client library with over 100 million weekly downloads. On March 30th, 2026, Step Security identified 2 malicious versions of the widely used Axios HTTP client library published to NPM. The malicious versions inject a new dependency, which is this, which is never imported anywhere in the Axios source code. Its sole purpose was to execute a post-install script that acts as a cross-platform remote access Trojan. It targeted macOS, Windows, and Linux systems. The dropper contacts a live command and control server and delivers platform-specific second-stage payloads. After execution, the malware deletes itself and replaces its own package, package.json, with a clean version to evade forensic detection. 100 million downloads a week. So in this example, like, the difference is cost. This could have sat undetected for weeks. Thankfully, it was caught very quickly. I mean, this was sort of set up over the course of an 18-hour period. And the malicious dependency was seeded on NPM before Axios releases to avoid brand new package alarms for security scanners. I mean, it was a precision attack. But this highlights how I'm just going to come back to the 100 million downloads per week, and there's another number here that I think is quite important, which is 12,000 public repositories, and that's to do with like the community tier security. So Step Security Hardened Runner, whose community tier is free for public repos and is used by over 12,000 public repositories, detected the compromised Axios package making anomalous outbound connections to the attacker's C2 domain across multiple open source projects. So this had a wide impact. And although, yes, we can say this is enterprise, but the same mechanism affects us in our home labs. And the cost for us to fix this is literally 10 seconds, 15 seconds of our time, and one pasted hash. So let's show why this matters at the byte level, not just tell you about it. So what I've got here is I've got a Linux Alpine standard ISO. Now, the reason I've got this is it's not a particularly big file, so it works really well for this example. And so first thing we'll do is we'll grab a hash of the original clean file. So keep a note in that because we'll be referring back to this after we've made some changes. So next, I'm going to copy this, paste it there. We're going to make a new directory called tampered. And then we're going to make an exact copy of this file and place it in tampered. Sorry, not tempered. So if we go here, and I go there, so you can see now we've got, if I could do that, you can see, if I put them next to each other, they're basically identical to the eye. You've got the same name, same extension, disk file image, same date modified, date time modified, and you've got exactly the same size. So the next step is we're going to modify the copied file, the one in the tampered directory. So we'll just paste those anyway, hit return. And now the really cool bit. So let's take a hash of that second file. And look at that. As you can see, these are completely different outputs. And all we changed was 1 byte to that. And that's the big deal about this. A single modified byte doesn't slightly change the output. It makes a completely different output. And that's the point with these cryptographic hash functions. They are designed so that even the smallest of changes produces a completely different, uncorrelated output. So, I mean, you could increment, you could get a text file and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The hash outputs would all be different, and they wouldn't be sequential, the same as the numbers on the text file. So at this level, it's either it matches or it absolutely doesn't, right? And so this is the mechanism we're gonna use, or we should already be using, but we're gonna make sure we use this much more regularly from now on in Proxmox. Proxmox ships with a verification tool straight out the box. And it is right there with download from URL. We have hash algorithm here. And so this is selecting the hash, SHA-256, and this is where you paste SHA-256 provided by the mirror or the developer or the repository or whatever it is, wherever it is that you're downloading this from. So let's pull that. So we'll open that just quickly. Okay, so that's the hash we got when we did that recent demo. In fact, look at that. F4DD, and then DD26. That's not a very good verification, by the way, but it's mathematically possible, but very unlikely. So anyway, let's just carry on with this to show the tool working. So now we've got that pasted in there. We need a download link for the file. So I'm going to copy this link, which is where I got this ISO from. We'll come back to Proxmox. We will paste that in, and I'll query the URL. And as you can see, it's showing Alpine Standard version 3.24.1 x8664 architecture.iso. Now let's just break it on purpose, which is, I guess, the other way around to what we've just done. So if I got rid of 26 and put 65 in, and then I hit download, right, look at this task output. So it's saying downloading, well, it's starting the download. This is the fail-safe that we have built into Proxmox. It says at the very bottom, task error, checksum mismatch, got this, which is correct because remember it ends DD26, and it was expecting DD65. And so you can see if it was obviously the other way around and we have the correct hash in and there is a modified ISO image, then it's going to give you the same, it's going to give the same mismatch. And so now, even though it's downloaded it, it's not going to commit this into my sort of local storage where all the ISO images are. So let's go back to, let's stop that and we'll do it again. And this time, oh, no, I didn't want to download it. Stop. Whoops. Wrong one. I need to just copy the link. All right, so we're going to copy that, query the URL again. We're going to do SHA-256. We'll come back to VS Code. We will copy just to make sure it was still recording, because I've started using the pause to help with like scripting and stuff. But anyway, let's paste that in. So now we've got the correct hash output. And so we'll click download now and see what happens. Calculating checksum verified, task okay. So if I close that, we can now see Alpine is now available to deploy into our home lab. And the cost to us was the time it took for me to download SHA-256 to this file here, open it, copy the hash, and paste it in that field in the download from URL. The return on investment for that amount of time is, it's huge. And, it's just removing points of failure, unforeseen circumstances, unintended consequences. So, yeah. Before we wrap up, there is one more thing, one more really important aspect to this, that SHA-256 integrity check that we just did only proves the integrity as per what the mirror says it should be, what the download source says it should be. If the mirror's been compromised, both the ISO and the posted SHA-256 can be tampered with. So it does protect you from transit modification or transit errors, but not if the whole site's compromised. And that's what the GPG-signed manifest is for. The distro maintainer signs the checksum file with their private key, which proves ownership. And what we can see that here. So you can see it says GPG there. There's the key ID. And so you can verify this as well. And that is the extra bit that confirms that the checksum itself came from someone with the maintainer's key ring. So let's look at doing this. You probably noticed this, but there was an extra file in this, and that was ASC. So if I pull this back up, and we come down here, all right, I'm going to copy that. We're in demos, so that's good. So I need to, let's get that back up. Let's copy this. So we're going to copy their GPG ID, and we'll put that there. We have to get rid of the spaces. Hit return. So that's now going to import that. This shows who signed it. And we can see it's ncopa at alpinelinux.org. Let's do the next part where good news is we only need to be in the working directory. Nope. Did it again. Really good at this, aren't I? So I'm going to click copy. There we go. So we've got both the SHA-256 and the GPG file. We'll hit return. And it says signature made on 6/14/26, which is 14th of June, using RSA key. And as you can see, that's the key that is on the website. And also, let's just check. Let's open that file. So if we open the file, there you go. Verified Alpine standard with detached signature. Well, that's really cool. All I wanted to do was read it, but it's actually done the... Oh no, that's part of the GPG. This is Cleopatra. Very cool. Okay. So it's detected I've opened the ASC file, and it has now basically done the same check we did in PowerShell. Signature created. This is probably why it says bad signature. So part of this demo to show how to do this check to make sure it's cool and legit, and And yeah, it's warning, there is no indication that the signature belongs to the owner. This, I mean, to be fair, depending on how security minded you want it to be, this could be enough for you to say, no, I don't want to use this ISO because this second check to make sure that they've been compromised and someone else is modifying their ISO images. Yeah, that's actually quite funny. But anyway. Okay, so confession time. I've missed these checks in my home lab so more times than I'd care to admit. And look, it's just back to that original point about trust and the assumption that because you've gone to a source for an asset numerous times and it's been fine, Debian repos, Ubuntu repos, and it's just and you're in a flow and you're doing the work and but to be honest, I'm probably just more lucky that nothing's happened until now. Like if I was using those Axios HTTP libraries, I would have been the victim of a very elegant and precise attack. So that's the real lesson here, right? It's security isn't a switch you just flip when budget shows up or enterprise tools are involved. It's a series of low friction habits at every step of the way, and especially at that point when something crosses the boundary into your network, into your environment. Enterprise or home lab, principle doesn't change. Only the budget does. So in this example, the cost is what, 10 seconds? That's the whole cost. And that's a lot better than an appliance running root level code that you never verified. See you next time.